All right. Thank you so much, Lee, for your kind introduction. I must be very careful what I say, actually. Because- okay, so really great to be here, and I'm just going to, talk about AI from different directions. I know we all know about what AI is, but just to structure the discussion, I'll just give a few thoughts, and then to help us, do justice to the topic. So, each you do it for me, or all right. So, by way of outline of the talk, we'll look at what AI is, some basic definitions of it, where it came from, and then how it can be applied in different settings, especially my area of research interest. And then just a summary, and hopefully that will help us to our panel members to get into the topic and share their thoughts. Okay. So AI is defined in so many ways. There's no one, single definition for it. Depending on your background and your worldview, we define it differently. So that's one of the definitions that you find in the literature. So from the worldview of thinking humanly, a definition by Bellman in 1978 defined it as the automation of activities that we associate with human thinking, activities such as decision-making, problem-solving, learning. So if a machine is able to do this thing, then we would say it's artificial intelligence. Another definition within the area of, or the worldview of human thinking humanly is the exciting new effort to make computers think. That is machines with minds in a full and the presence of it by H. in 1985. Okay. So again, if you look at it from thinking rationally, others have also offered some definitions. And one of them is the Shannon and Marklet model. So in 1985, they also, based on their worldview, defined it as the study of mental faculties through the use of computational models. So modeling how the human brain thinks, the human brain works. So that's how they see it. And Wilson in 1992 also defined it as the study of the computations that make it possible to perceive, to reason, and to act. So it sort of captures the human capabilities. Now, computers are able to replicate human activities, just like how we can perceive, do things, and act, And another worldview is the acting humanly. So again, Richard 9, 1991, based on their perception or worldview, define it as a study of how to make computers do things, at which at the moment people are better. So we're trying to benchmark humans to machines. So human beings tend to do things better, but now computers are more or less becoming capable of doing them. Again, from that worldview, the art of creating machines that perform functions that require intelligence when performed by humans. So again, it captures the worldview of how humans act rationally. Okay, next slide. Okay, so that's AI. You may have also come across the definition or machine learning in your readings or on social media. So, Samuel Attali, or Attali Samuel in 1959, defined machine learning as a branch of AI which aims to operate computers with the ability to learn without being programmed. So, you can imagine having a computer feeding with some code, and it's able to learn from that code, and it's able to do things that it was not explicitly instructed to do. So that's the definition of machine learning. But next slide. Tom Mitchell in 1999 actually reformulated that definition, which I like so much. He says that a computer program is said to learn from experience E with respect to some class of task T and performance measure P. If performance at task in T as measured by P improves with experience, then we'll say that that computer program has learning abilities, so it's able to learn. So it's quite a mouthful and it's a lot to take in, but the graph on the right tend to break it down. So this is how I tend to break it down. So you see that you have a task, number of tasks that you perform horizontally, and then you have performance. So you have performance where you measure. So as a computer program, if you're able to run through this task over time, so in this case, maybe 5 times, and the computer is able to learn from that and improve performance. So, for example, we start with performance measuring 10% accuracy, and then at some point, as you get to task 5, it increases up to 60% or 70%. Then you say that the computer program has learned something. So, what really makes a computer program learn is because, naturally, if you write a program, say, statistics program to analyze the data, anytime you write a program, it's going to produce the same results, isn't it? But for machine learning, that program that you write is expected. It's expected that that program will learn over time, so it will become better. So putting all this together, we have artificial intelligence as the umbrella term or concept, which a program that can, can sense, reason, act, and adapt. Then we have the machine learning, which is a sub field of that. Because in AI, you have what the expert systems where an expert will sit down and write rules, and based on the rules, from the knowledge of the expert, will then feed that into a computer, and then the computer will generate it. So it becomes an expert system. But when it comes to machine learning, you write a program once, but it's able to learn and adapt. And then now we even have what deep learning, which is much, it mimics the human brain, the neural networks, the neurons and how they behave in our brain, and that's exactly how deep learning works, based on data. Okay. So, artificial intelligence is not new, it's been around for a while, and literature has it that it has origins from philosophy, economics, mathematics. Actually, the algorithms, the reason why it's able to learn is because of the mathematics equation that are embedded in the program. So there's huge applied mathematics in the neuroscience, attention neurons. So neuroscience computer engineering, the hardware itself that supports linguistics, so which is a study of the science of language. So, grammar, and structure, and all that, putting all together. That's how we're able to develop programs that are able to, communicate with humans. Psychology, cognitive theory, and then cybernetics, where you are able to develop, we get inspiration from circular systems and biology, and putting all this together to support the AI development. So this is just to show you what we consider the founding fathers of AI. Led by John McCarthy, actually he coined the word artificial intelligence. Before then, there was not like artificial intelligence. It was all different things. But John McCarthy, somewhere in 1956, organized a summer school back in the US, and then these guys came together. They were all doing their own bits of the research, and then John McCarthy thought that it would be important for them to come together to have a vision for this particular research. So he put these people together, and then they coined the term artificial intelligence. Right. So this is just a timeline of how it has evolved over time. This is just roughly some, periods really. So between 1943 and 55. We call that period gestation period, where researchers were doing their own things, trying to come up with some machine that can learn or that can mimic human capabilities. So around 1956, that's where we got the term and the birth, we call it the birth of AI. So that's where John McCarthy organized a conference, and they agreed on that term. Between 1952 and 69, we call that period the early enthusiasm and high expectation. So after the conference, you can imagine there was so much energy. They wanted to, get AI into the world. There was so much enthusiasm. But between 1969 and 73, we call that period the dose of reality. So that's where they were really hit by reality of life. So the algorithms that they had developed really required a lot of data, which they didn't have, really required a lot of computational power, which wasn't available at that time. So most of the ideas that they developed remain on paper, at that point. So between 69 and 79, they started developing small applications, what they call technology-based systems. So those ideas that they developed, like rules, they were able to formulate some of those rules within systems. So we call them knowledge-based systems and expert systems. Then, around 2001, when the internet came on board, we started generating more data, and there was availability of large data sets, and that's really changed the whole dynamics. 1995 to present, we call the emergence of intelligence agents, where we're now able to develop systems that have intelligence. So, for example, you have an MRI machine embedded with some intelligent software that is able to, you don't need a radiologist to be able to tell you that this brain has some artifacts or has some lesions in it. It's able to detect that for you right from once it's been scanned. Then around from 1986, about, we saw the return of the neural networks, which had been developed somewhere around the 1956. The neural networks really came on board because data is now becoming available. Then AI became an industry around the 1980s, where the big giant companies like IBM started developing, like IBM Watson and all those, based on mainframes, because they were now able to they have data and also computing power. So they started developing some systems that were supporting processes and applications. Then around 2014, quite recent, we saw another change, which is the generative AI. And we are now really in the world of generative AI, where we're able to generate content. We'll look at some of those later. So this is just an experiment that was carried out. Just around the time that data, we started getting more data. So around 2001, Banco and Brill just looked at this hypothesis that, okay, we are seeing that data is what we need to be able to develop AI models. So they went to the web and then extracted some data and then looked at different algorithms. So an algorithm is basically, set of rules underpinned by mathematical equations, and that's what we know machines to learn. So they looked at different algorithms, what they call memory-based. I wouldn't go into technical details. Perception, which is based on neural networks, and naive, which is based on base theory. And they trained this algorithm to see how they will perform as you add more data to it. So on your horizontal axis, you see number of words, basically. And your vertical axis, you see accuracy. And you're able to determine that the more data you give to, it doesn't matter even a stupid algorithm, the more you give more data, it's able to improve your performance, accuracy. So that really shows that data is really important. So now, how do we determine the intelligence in AI? So around the 1950s, a British mathematician called Turing also proposed or called a Turing test, which is still relevant today. And based on that, he said that humans are intelligent. So to be called intelligent, a machine must produce responses that are indistinguishable from those of a human. And I went on to propose a test. So that test, which is popularly known as the Turing test, is basically saying that, okay, so imagine having an interrogator sitting behind a wall, and you have a human on your left and a computer on your right. If the interrogator is asked a question and you get a response, and the interrogator is unable to determine whether this is a response from computer or from human, then the computer has passed the intelligence test. So, and this forms the basis of all the tests that we do in AI. We benchmark our performance against humans. All right. So that's some of the background to AI history and how it has evolved over time. So now we will switch gears and get into some of the opportunities that AI can offer us. But before we talk about the opportunities in AI, let's go back into history. And I hope we're all aware of this, the famous 1854 Broad Street robbery, where we know that a lot of people died in England due to cholera. Actually, over 10,000 people between 1831 and 1854. Yes, we didn't know, at that time, we didn't know what cholera was. So, further down the line, there was another outbreak, and 500 out of over 600 people that died within 10 days, and they died within a certain locality, which is what they call around 250 yards of a pump, where they were fresh water. So around the time that's 1854, sorry, when that first outbreak, a guy called Dr.Samuel was graduating from medical school. So at the time, the second outbreak, he was really practicing. So he thought that he should have some experiments. So he went to the council, gathered some data on the cases, and tried to work out what could be the possible cause of this outbreak. The long short of that story is that in the end, after the analysis and everything, he discovered that a woman really washed the baby diaper into the town hall, and that's what really caused the outbreak, the second outbreak, which led to over 600 people dying. Okay. So what's the point of this story? The point of this story is that we can understand nature through data, right? And the idea is this: whenever there's any phenomenon and there's nature, which is always in purpose, you don't know, there's also an effect or cause. So the primary objective of prediction is basically to be able to extract some information about nature and associating that phenomenon to an observed cause. So John Snow was able to observe some phenomenon and was able to assign, and thus was able to understand the nature, what nature is doing. Right. So taking that idea, the same applies to AI. We'll see AI as some black box, right, which we can feed some data through that and observe some output from that. So, and that is the idea of modeling, basically. So understanding risk factors of a given disease. So all that we do is to extract some information about how a model, nature, is associated with an output disease, giving some sort of, signs and symptoms. So based on that, because we observe that, we can, once we see some signs and symptoms, we can predict what is happening. Right. So now we have understanding of AI and how its capabilities. So I will introduce you to some research that I've done in the past using AI. One of them is the predicting cause of death from verbal autopsies. So verbal autopsy is basically an alternative way of ascertaining cause of death. So imagine not having systems in place to capture death. Say in England, we are lucky to have systems in place, but in developing countries, we don't know how people are dying and from what causes. So the WHO came up with this alternative technique called the autopsy. So the autopsy basically you go to the deceased relatives, ask them questions about events surrounding the death of the person. They will provide a narrative in their own understanding, and then based on that, you can then deduce the cause of death, which the physician is trained to do. So this is just an example of that. This is a typical autopsy questionnaire where you have some background information and then open history where a person just usually narrates in their own understanding what happened. So this is the whole sense of mission, and PG is experiencing this. I'm sure one day he's going to give a lecture on this. But I'll just, read the process. So you have that reported, an interview is conducted using questionnaire. The questionnaire is sent to a physician who is not in the community at all and is independently analyzed. And then a cause of death is assigned. So from the point where death happens to the point where the cause is determined, it can take years for that information to be captured. On top of that, apart from the delay, we have issues around availability of doctors' time. Doctors are in short supply in those settings as well. And their time is so precious. You have to be at the hospital, attend to patients. So it's difficult to get the cause of death, which is also important for intervention. So we need to find a way, and that is what my PhD was about. So in that PhD work, the idea was to see how we can use AI to predict the cause of death. So you have typical documents, you have some information, and then it has gone through a review by physicians, and they assign the cause of death. Now, AI can then learn from that data to be able to predict future cause of death. So I won't go through the details of how the model and everything, but the end result was that it's really possible to use AI to learn from that history that you collect from lay people and do that to predict the cause of death. So in this slide, we compare the reliability of AI compared to a group of physicians assigning cause of death. And as you can see, it's over 94% at the level of agreement between the two systems. The advantage is that once you have this established, once you collect data and someone died from the community, you can then feed into an AI system, and within minutes or within seconds, you have the cause of death. It cuts down so many barriers. Another quite recent one that I published also had to do with personalized medicine, where, so back in Edinburgh, I'm part of this team that we're looking at dementia. And one of the volunteers came to our office and asked, so what's my risk of dementia and what can I do about it? Because it's known that dementia has no cure. So once you have dementia or you have a risk of developing dementia, what can you do? So as AI scientists, once a question is asked, you have to translate that into AI question. So in AI, we have what we call transfer learning, where you learn from, you can learn from, which we do as humans. We learn from the experiences, and then we apply that to our own life. So in transfer learning, same idea. You can learn how to ride a bicycle, and then from there you can learn a way to apply that knowledge to ride a motorbike. So this is what happened. We took data from another study, which is older cohort called SHARE. It's an European-based cohort with an average age of 69 years, and some have diagnosis of dementia, others don't have. And then we have our own UK-based cohort, which is the PREVENT, average age, a bit younger cohort, 52 years. None of them have diagnosis. So we extracted about over 84,000 individual data, which longitudinal, so we follow them they follow those individuals up since 2004, so about 14 years of data, so we know a lot about these people. We extracted risk factors that we know are risk factors of dementia, and then we built an AI model, which was performed around 88%. But even if you would look at for AD, for non-AD, it's about over 90%, and AD is around 73%. So at that level, we can then drill down using the called explainable AI. We can then drill down to actually look at the risk factors and how they are interacting at the individual level. And this is just one participant, which the model predicted that this person has AD rate of 96%. And you can see from this visualization that these are the risk factors. The red are the risk factors, and the blue we call the protective factors. So it's like push and pull. So if you look at this, you can see that the person is old, so age is not the major risk factors of dementia, but the person doesn't do sports, the person has low level of education. Now, transferring that knowledge and applying it to the younger cohort, we see that this person has AD probability of 12%. So, and it tells us exactly what the issues are. So, in terms of protective factors, the person is a bit young and does regular sports. But the most important risk factor here, which is driving this person, is the emotional disorder. So the person has some emotional issues that actually cause him because of this driving this vulnerability. So you can imagine the person visits in a physician, and with the powerful AI, the clinician is able to advise, offer personalized advice to this person. Okay, so at least we've seen 2 use cases. I can go on and on with, but at least 2 use cases of what AI we're using AI for. But as I mentioned in the timeline, generative AI is now the issue, the hot topic now, and because of its capabilities. So now we have what we call conversational AI, chatbots, where you can, communicate with a system as if you are communicating to some human. We have generative AI that is able to generate code for you. So if you don't have good programming skills, you can use AI to actually help you to develop the whole code for data analysis. We can use AI to generate data or synthesize data. So we go over the barriers of spending so much money to gather data. Once you have a number of cases, using generative AI, you can generate data sets that will make real world examples. We have text generation. You can use AI to generate emails, tweets, all that for you without any problem. And even image generation. We use AI to generate images, and it's actually supporting facilitating the arts, the artists and those that are into arts. But with all these fantastic opportunities, we have pitfalls. So, as I said, AI is all dependent on data. So data quality issues remain the same regardless. and we know garbage in, garbage out. So, and now with generative AI, it's even worse. We have so much issues in terms of data on the internet, and the data is a true reflection of society. So any biases, anything that we have in society is really in the data, and that is what we use to train the models. So whatever AI is going to spit out, it's just a reflection of reality. We have information hazards, privacy issues. It's now an issue, really. I spent the last 18 months fellowship project that I was doing with the Information Commission Office. And it has to do with privacy, data privacy. Generative AI is able to memorize so much information. So once you put information on the internet, it's able to memorize that and it's able to spit out for you. So it means that privacy is becoming a very big issue. And the bad guys can take advantage of that. So my last 18 months or so, I've been looking at how can we mitigate some of these issues. There's also malicious use of AI. Misinformation. One of the technical problems with generative AI is what we call hallucination. So the model, because they are fed with data from the internet and all that, is able to generate its own ideas, put ideas together, and it's sort of generate things. And sometimes some of the ideas that it generates, they don't make any sense. So, for example, there was a research done in France, one researcher trying to use ChatGPT. So it was posing as someone who has mental problems and said to ChatGPT, I'm having some mental problems. And say, hello, yeah, how can I help? Say, I'm having some mental problems. Okay, fine. What can I do? I feel like killing myself. And the response was that you can actually kill yourself. You know, that's what the response that the AI offered. And if you're not careful, this can lead to problems. I have this young lady, that's my daughter, Lindsay. And Lindsay, whenever we're having a conversation, if I say something to Lindsay, Lindsay will have to go and double check on the internet to make sure what I'm saying is wrong. So sometimes Lindsay trusts what is on the internet more than what I say to her. And that is really dangerous because, you know, if you're going to depend on AI to provide information to educate our kids and it's not giving you anything useful, then we're in trouble. Discrimination is there, biases, hate speech, they are all over the place. And this is what we are going to feed AI with. So those are the dangers for that we have to head against. So this led to Antonio, the General Secretary, said, generative AI has enormous potential for good and evil at scale, which I agree. So to summarize, AI technology has evolved from a simple decision support to decision-making tool. So it now makes decisions. AI opens up unimaginable possibilities, but the risks are also enormous. I think that's one of the ways of dealing with the risk is to have some regulation in place so we can harness the potential as well as mitigate the risks that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sami. It was a pleasure to have you here and listen to your presentation on the insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed panelists for today's event. Our first panelist, Mr. Masayuki Kishi, user interface and user experience designer and AI researcher with a background in product design and machine translation. He's the founder of a domain registrar startup called For Human, a platform that leverages natural language processing to find short and attractive website domains. With a passion for design thinking, human-centered design, and digital technology, Masayuki envisions an AI-powered future that can help us effectively tackle real-world problems at scale. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Masayuki Kishi to the stage.
Hi everybody, thanks for having me today. My background's in machine translation. I also have a degree in product design, so my passion is in human-centered design. And I'm seeing AI as a massive potential for improving, improving the quality of life for everyday humans everywhere across the globe. For me, AI is a tool that can be used for good and also for evil as well. And just like any other tool, it really depends on the human person behind it that's using it. My passion is actually in design thinking and using lots and lots of solutions. Basically, if you want to create a really high quality solution, it's imperative that we create lots of solutions. We create lots of ideas for it. So over the past couple of years, I've been studying ways in which we could define the problem and then create and evaluate loads of different ideas that we can find the best possible solution for that kind of problem. AI is especially designed, especially good at solving problems that are really hard to define and obviously really hard to solve as well. So I'm really looking forward to what we can do with AI. And obviously, Sam is a research into medical science, diagnosing medical problems, and then finding a solution that might be really hard for a human to come up with our capable resources in our mind. We can leverage digital technology to find, really solutions that are really hard to find and really hard to solve. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Masayuki, for sharing your expertise and vision with us today. Now I'm delighted to introduce our next panelist, Ms. Debbie. Debbie is currently the multi-faith pastoral and spiritual care coordinator. She became interested in spirituality after her dad's passing. This turned into interest in personal development to help her through that time. 10 years later, she retrained as a business analyst and coached at all levels with organizations. She is a qualified life coach, stress management practitioner, meditation practitioner, mindfulness practitioner, and hypnotherapy practitioner. Debbie set her own worldwide personal development coaching practice called Why Follow the Herd in 2015, which she still runs today. Without further ado, please welcome Ms. Debbie to the stage.
Thank you very much. So I think I've been using AI for probably a few years now in my own business, starting with things like AI chat, as in marketing materials, finding some ways to put content together, and also using music, creating music for your YouTube channel, for your podcasts and things like that. And it's amazing actually what you can put together in that place, so that you don't have any risks with things like copyright, although plagiarism can come into point when you're thinking about the writing materials. But I want to stop just for a minute and put a hand on heart and just think, can we just connect? Can we connect with that intelligence that's within us? How does that intelligence feel like? We're so used to using external intelligence, looking for outside resources to come up with ideas for us because maybe we think we're not good enough, maybe we think we're not worthy enough, maybe we think that we're not intelligent enough. So we have to look for external things, like using AI to create words for a blog. Is it because we're afraid we can't come up with the right words ourselves? That we can't tune into our own intelligence? So when we breathe, when we stop, when we go into a place of our own silence, what do we tune into? Do we tune into our own intelligence? And there's so much intelligence within ourselves. We have not only the intelligence of our mind, but we have the intelligence in ourselves. We talked about, Dr. Samuel talked about neural pathways, and we do. We change through our own learning. What we think about, where we place our awareness, actually changes. It grows. We develop through where we place our awareness. So where are we placing our awareness? If you look at different religions, maybe Buddhism, for example, Thich Nhat Hanh has talked about things like our seeds of consciousness. Where we place our awareness grows our seeds of consciousness. And we can have a storehouse of different types of consciousness. We can have the bit that is fearful, that is anxious, that is stressful, that is scary. And then over here we can have the awareness that is joy, that is contentment, that is love. So where are we placing our awareness? Where are we growing our own intelligence within? Are we having more awareness on the bits that are scaring us? Or are we having more awareness on the areas that are nourishing us and soothing us and supporting ourselves? We can also think about cause and effect, where with our own intelligence, what we get out, we give back, or we get back. We could be saying that we're an individual intelligence in a conscious universe, that we are an energetic being, that we're made of energy. So much science is saying that now, actually. The person I was when I stood on this stage, I'm slightly different now. There are cells that are being born, there are cells that are transforming, there are cells that are dying. There are thoughts that I thought just now which are gone, and there are thoughts now that I'm getting. So there's an impermanence to us. We're forever in a state of change. So when we think about intelligence and how we might use intelligence, we could think that actually we're part of that collective consciousness. We're part of that whole. And is that part of that whole, if we use intelligence for good, that we're creating the good back to us? But if we're using the intelligence for things which aren't quite so good, which cause suffering, then actually we're doing that to ourselves in a way, because we're the part of that whole energetic consciousness of the universe. So how does that leave us in terms of our own growth? Does it think, oh, it's okay, we're just putting something out there. We're just creating some deep fake, I don't know, porn things that are around, or the James Bulger thing that I saw on the news, and creating suffering for people. And that doesn't have an effect to us at all. But we could look at it and think, well, actually, I'm part of that universal being. I'm part of that universal consciousness. So what I give out actually is hurting me at some level. And I can only hurt when I'm hurting within. So how does that artificial intelligence actually communicate? How does it reflect our own level of consciousness? And I think it does in many ways. I think actually it speaks about who we are as a person, about our values, about our ethics, about how we see and view the world. There are many different perspectives on the world. And actually it can help us to think about who we are, whether we're willing to learn and grow ourselves, or whether we're going to become reliant on things that are outside of ourselves, or whether we're going to sit down in silence and learn the truth of who we really are and discover our own intelligence. And I'm not saying that one is right and one is wrong, they're just different approaches. And it's getting that balance. It's getting a balance with everything. When I saw those founding fathers that came up, those images, for me they were all white men, all middle class, all intelligent people. Was there a balance really along the masculine and the feminine, different approaches that we have in life to get a balance. And we all need a balance. So I guess it's a balanced approach between using something that is outside of ourselves and being aware of what we're using, but also using and tapping into that intelligence that is within us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Debbie. That was extremely insightful. Thank you very, very much. Now I'd like to introduce Georgina. She has qualified with a Master of Osteopathy degree from Leeds Metropolitan University, after which she started her career in osteopathy in Yorkshire. Georgina currently works for the Dartmouth Chiropractic and Wellbeing Clinic and also provides osteopathy services to people, horses and dogs throughout South Devon. Georgina is passionate about osteopathy because of its vast potential to use hands-on treatment to positively impact people's lives. Georgina.
Hi, I hope you can hear me okay. So osteopathy is basically a manual therapy, so I'm using hands-on treatment to try and help people with mechanical problems. One of the things listening to the talk that was very interesting is the potential for AI to help with diagnosis. I get patients in all the time, and I have to work out, is it a mechanical problem? Is it a problem with a joint, a ligament, a muscle? Is it something more sinister than that? Is it cancer? Is it a neurological problem? And it's really important in my line of work, and chiropractors, physiotherapists, massage therapists. What we don't want to do is delay treatment for a more serious illness. If we treat for 2 months and we think, gosh, this hasn't changed, maybe they should go to the GP. That's 2 months where we might have missed a diagnosis that needed sort of imminent treatment immediately. So you can see the benefit of having an algorithm that learns from the responses of the patient, either to prompt you into follow-up questions, so you can identify whether it's a serious issue, or whether it's clearing that patient. So you're like, yeah, this is mechanical. We're sort of safe here, we can do hands-on treatment. The dangers of that is the potential for the practitioner to become lazy. So if you have an AI who's telling you this patient is safe, this patient needs this follow-up question, do you then start to rely on the AI? Is it a little bit like being a helpline, and you've got a question about something you bought, and the person says, oh, I can't do that on my computer, you'll have to ring another department. We just need to make sure that we still keep the responsibility for our patients ourselves. But there is a huge, huge potential, especially for more rare disorders that you can hopefully catch those before they rather than seeing early on. The other thing that you can have is the potential for AI to work as a diagnostic tool for individuals, but there's dangers in that as well. How many people have Googled something online with their symptoms and come up with some disastrous kind of diseases? Yeah, hands up there. So you just have to be a little bit careful that you make sure these tools are being used in a healthcare setting until they're very reliable, so that you don't really upset people by putting in a few symptoms and they start to worry there's something really seriously wrong with them. Because not only do you have a placebo effect, whereby somebody believes they can be helped, if they believe the treatment will work, actually the treatment is more effective. You can have a nocebo effect, so if you suddenly start to fear that your symptoms are something more sinister, that can actually help to bring about a deterioration of that person's health. So we just want to be very careful how we use all of these sort of things, because we can accidentally become something where if somebody believes things are going to happen, they will bring about that themselves. So yeah, there's a lot of huge potential. The other thing with my sort of profession is that it can be very good for diagnostic, but in terms of the actual treatment, obviously at this point in time, it's very much a hands-on treatment. So not very useful for our sort of practical thing at the moment, but in time, it could be very interesting. The other thing we were talking about was the quality of the data. So you're using data that comes from people, from studies, and then you're inputting that into the AI. The AI is only as good as the data that goes into it. So then that relies upon the people that you're taking data from, or knowledge from. So for example, in my profession, you'd be asking osteopaths. We have some quite complicated philosophy that underpins how we look at the body. So for example, you might come in with a knee injury, you have pain in your knee, but it might be that you have pain from your back. It might be that you stubbed your toe 3 years ago, you haven't been walking properly, your ankle and your foot isn't working properly, and it's stressed your knee. So we're looking for things that don't move as opposed to just things that are painful. So these are quite interesting concepts. It's how you program that into an AI, because then that can help anybody, like a GP. They can be like, okay, let's just double check this, because this might be what's going on. So again, it's the data quality that's really important. But yeah, it's really a fascinating and interesting field. I think it could be exceptionally good in improving safety and quality of practice across all medical disciplines, because hopefully you start to rule out the things where things are missed, or it takes 10 months for somebody to think about the unusual sort of thing and then test for that. So there's potentially huge benefits. So it'd be a very interesting thing to watch in the future. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Georgina. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, and it was a really brilliant presentation from you, Dr. Danso, and we hope you all enjoyed it. Now we'll be going out for refreshments, and we hope all of you all will enjoy the vegan pasties, the meat pasties, and there are a few soft drinks as well. And please do note, the refreshment break will be for 10 minutes, and we will let you know to get back into the Livingston Hall. Thank you.